Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at the Puppet Portal deck. We have looked at this deck very recently, but it has had some adjustments with the new gold card being added. Green Gunsmith, an amazing card with an amazing token. Does an absolutely wonderful job as a card, and honestly I was definitely expecting this to be super popular as it is just such a good card. So compared to the previous deck, I have dropped out one Outer World Invader as I didn't feel it was 100% necessary to run 3 of. I think 2 is quite fine, and I dropped out the 2 Pure Hearted Singers that were in this deck lineup as I don't think they were needed. This is what I would consider one of the more stock standard decks for Portal. A lot of people I've seen are trying to run like Junk and Puppet Room and silly cards that I don't feel are necessary, as you'll have plenty of puppets to generate your lethal conditions with Orcus and Vengeful pretty easily with these just basic Flower Doll and Automation and Loco cards, as Little Puppeteer is just that nice. People also seem to run Bear, which is a really weird one. I personally don't like that card hardly at all. Otherwise, everything else in this deck just does what Puppets does best, and you just can't go wrong with Green Gunsmith. I mean, the deal 2 damage is an amazing effect. It always was when it was on the 1/4 Ceres, and it's still an amazing card here. The little girl is also great, deal 1 damage randomly 3 times. You just can't go wrong with that, and she does a great job when she's used. So we're going to get right into it and check it out. And our first game is against Dragon. I'm pretty sure this is one of the very early concede games that I actually had, as the Dragon player just didn't want to deal with the crap that I was putting down at that stage. So really nice hand as well. Hamlin into Green Gunsmith is pretty nice. Loco, a little iffy on. I probably should have considered dropping Loco, trying to get Sylvia or something else. We do end up drawing a Flower Doll as well though, which is actually quite nice. So, of course, Dragon had to have Zoe on turn 1. It's always the way my Dragon matches seem to go. So Hamlin duplicating Green Gunsmith, also making it animated, which is always cool when you get to see the animated cards of Hamlin. It does a really good job at that. And we do end up getting the Sylvia, which is just perfect to go with this turn, especially since Dragon actually didn't have a 2-drop play. Really working in our favour there. Of course, they do have a turn 3 though. The Dragon Cleaver Roy play isn't surprising at all there. I'm actually wondering why Dragon becomes so popular so fast. I'm assuming that Poseidon had a big thing to do with that, but I feel like some top players released a Dragon deck straight away as soon as this happened, and it's just become really popular. So we miss out on the 3 damage, but it does allow us to clear board without taking any damage at all there, which is pretty much perfect. And we set up a pretty nice board. We've still got plenty of these Green Gunsmiths to use, thanks to Hamlin. We've turned 1 into 3 pretty quickly. And you can't go wrong with the Enhance 5 either. It does contest a little bit with Spinaria, but I don't mind that too much, honestly. And just using her for extra removal and damage is awesome. And as you can see, went very quickly because we just built such an amazing board and it was very hard to deal with, obviously. Now, I know one of these games here was actually extremely fast. It may have been this Portal game, but it may not have been. Puppet games are usually pretty quick. They're very straightforward matchups in general, especially mirror matches. It usually comes down to who goes first. That usually makes a huge difference. Otherwise, it's mostly luck with who can draw the better hand. There isn't, I wouldn't say there is a ton of skill on ladder when it comes to this. So this is one where, yeah, this was just an instant concede. But as you can see, we started off with a very solid opener, which is still nice to show off. Starting off with a good early hand. And then we go straight into a rune matchup. Another one that isn't a too bad a matchup for this deck, as you tend to go off earlier than most rune decks would. I'm pretty sure this is actually a Mysterio rune we're fighting, which actually makes this match a lot more interesting. Mysterio rune is a deck that will probably rise in prominence, as I think the support for it was fairly decent. Rune overall, pretty decent support across this mini expansion, and that both cards are pretty nice overall cards. Haven't seen any Shadow yet, which is entertaining. I think that would be an interesting one to see in a week or so. So we start off with a pretty solid hand. Flower Doll turn 2 is pretty good. Double Substitution, double Green Gunsmith, a nice Puppeteer to use later on. Mysterio Missile, that's a very early play from our opponent. This hand isn't the best hand you could possibly have, but it's definitely okay. Do decide to forego the Green Gunsmith just to remove the 2/2. And there is Lightning Age. That is one of the new cards added in this little mini expansion. The battlefield belongs Parkils though is going to do pretty well against this. It's going to give us a nice strike form golem and remove this 3/3 very easily. This video is probably going to be relatively short compared to at least the last video, but I feel like this just shows how quick this deck can be now, especially with this 3-drop. It's just, it got a nice amount of versatility. It's a solid drop for Sylvia. It just works out all around. I wouldn't be surprised though if it is nerfed in some way in the future, as it is a very strong gold card. I feel like nerfing Sylvia might be too harsh, but nerfing this gold card and maybe Nicholas could be what will be the big changes to the puppet formula going forward. Just going to depend on how things turn out, as I feel like people are going to start taking more counters, especially to puppet, as people were starting to already tech counters to puppet in the last week before this mini expansion. I was noticing it pretty heavily. A lot of my matchups are pretty negatively favored. See, this 2-1 is just great. I really cannot fault that. They kill it, they take 3 damage to face. I mean, you just can't go wrong there. Cagliostro, not really an issue at all. Definitely a nice card, it does its job, but it's not really enough to deal with a lot of my puppet stuff. Although they are putting out a very nice amount of burn damage, which, I mean, that is the aim of their deck, but is it going to be enough? So I decided to play a puppet in favor, that way I can go for the strike form golem pretty comfortably, along with the Sylvia play. This does allow us to kill the Cagliostro without losing any followers, and still have a pretty solid turn. Does mean we miss out on the nice boost, but we've already got 2 puppets and double Vengeful Puppeteer, meaning we have a large amount of burst damage that we can throw from hand to board. We also have the 2-1 on board, the 1-2 on board, giving us another puppet, which means we can actually fill our board with puppets going forward. All we need is something for this hand. Heartless Battle is a good option. I would like to avoid though using an Evo here, because I do want to save it for our big swing turn. And considering how many puppets we have, and that no event summons one, we should be fine. This is going to let us clean up the board and set up for lethal next turn. As long as they don't play a ward or heal up, we are actually completely in the clear, which is awesome. I'm so glad that we managed to be in the clear for this game. Silent Laboratory, not an issue. And this is going to be more than enough for lethal. Noah is 5, these puppets are 8, and that is 13 damage total. Absolutely cleaning this game up. You won't have time to pray. It just goes to show that puppets really probably did need some form of nerf, even if it was just a minor one, but it's definitely, I enjoy it because Portal's one of my favorite decks. And while Portal is one of my favorite decks, Puppets usually isn't, but the addition of this Green Gunsmith has just gave me a lot more fun. I think Green Gunsmith is just a card that I can enjoy, and it's one that I think I wouldn't stop playing no matter what. I don't know what changes we will see, as there's plenty of room for this card to be changed. I mean, just look at it. It's got so many different effect things that could be altered. This could be dropped to a deal 1 damage. You could have a stat change, which I doubt it would change its 3 effect, because with the enhanced 5 it would have to go to like 4 and 6 or something ridiculous, which would be super bad for this card unless it gained more health or something. But overall, just super solid. The rest of the deck is very standard puppets and does a wonderful job complementing each other. Honestly, I don't find any single card in this deck to be super overpowered. Sylvia is pretty balanced with its chip damage for its Excel effect. Of course, the Ambush 7 isn't great. I think that could have been improved in some capacity, even if it was just to give you 1 single turn of extra damage or something, then to encourage people to play it as a 7-drop. If we do see a big change, it might be Accelerate to 4 instead of 3, but we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Otherwise, I think Nicholas is probably the next card that might see a change. You might see Rombi go to a 4-drop instead for Countdown. That way it just comes out a turn later, but I don't really know if that'll end up being the case. Maybe Nicholas is a 5-drop instead to contest that 5-drop slot, as we are already running a few. But who knows, you know, Cygames nerfs things in certain ways, and it depends on play rates and win rates, and obviously, considering how the deck's been doing so far, they haven't considered it too overpowered yet. But we will see how that goes in the next couple of weeks, as I'm sure we'll see this deck perform amazingly, and probably get hit in the next lot of changes. But As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You will find the deck list in the description below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.